All right. So, I don't think I need to explain what QAnon is, and this particular story already hit the internet in the form of a Reddit post. And I saw it on Twitter. I saw this Reddit post on Twitter and I was like, okay, that's a little crazy. I feel like if this was true, I'd be able to go on YouTube or on Google and find this story basically pretty easily, right? And so I just kind of like last night when I saw it, I just kind of assumed it wasn't a true story because that kind of stuff, tends to be overblown or just kind of made up sometimes on the, you see that kind of stuff. People make shit up. People lie on the internet. You really think people would do that? Go on the internet and tell lies on Reddit? People lying on Reddit? Ugh. Anyway, I did low key kind of not believe the post when I first saw it. But then holy fucking shit, did it turn out it was real. And the people behind the post, in particular the child of the dad in question, who made the Reddit post, came forward during the investigation of the case that happened, and it's being reported on, and it's real. This is not a trust the internet scenario. This is a it fucking happened scenario. And it's very dark and very sad. Now, other content creators that do what I do have already talked about this. So I am kind of jumping on to a little bit of a late train, even though it was like this literally just came out yesterday. But I feel like I've got a more of a unique perspective to go through this with, A little bit of a uniquer, more of a uniquer perspective, if that's a word at all. Uniquer? That is definitely not a word. Daughter says QAnon radicalized Walled Lake father before he killed mother, dog, and injured sister. I didn't even cry. I was just so shocked I couldn't even believe it. Walled Lake, Mitch. The 21-year-old daughter of a man who police said killed his wife, the family dog, and severely injured his 25-year-old daughter, said her father was radicalized by QAnon. For those that don't know, I'll give a brief explanation of QAnon. QAnon is a conspiracy that an individual, an insider in the U.S. government named Q, who is extremely pro-Trump and is in the know on the evil, satanic, pedophile, Democrat, leftist, adrenochrome drinking vampires are like based and where they're like doing all of their things and what their plans are. And he's basically like supposed to be the guy undercover who's going to pull the switch and let everybody know. He's going to let everybody know when it's time for Trump to take power. And they basically worship this pretty much possibly non-existent person named Q. Anyway, QAnon is an online conspiracy that... Oh, there we go. QAnon is an online conspiracy that believes in a pedophilic cult of the elite that's planned the COVID pandemic and stole the election. Rebecca Well, that is a very bare-bones explanation, not even getting into Q himself. Rebecca Lanis, 21, said QAnon radicalized her father and sent him over the edge. He started reading about the stolen election and Trump, and when he started getting deeper into it, and when the vaccines came out and COVID, he started reading all that, Rebecca Lanis said. Rebecca Lanis is the youngest of the Lanis family from Walled Lake. She was at a birthday party over the weekend when she learned her parents were dead and her sister was hospitalized. She got a call from her grandmother Sunday morning about 4 hours after the shooting. When Lannis arrived at her grandmother's home, she was told about her father's crimes, that he was shot and killed by officers on the scene after he opened fire on them. The shooting happened at 4:11 a.m. on September 11th at Lannis's home in Walled Lake. I just feel like Walled Lake is such a weird name for a place. Am I the only one that it just feels so weird to say that word? Police said 53-year-old Igor Lannis killed his 56-year-old wife and the family dog and also shot his 25-year-old daughter. Police were dispatched to the home after receiving a call from the 25-year-old stating that her father just shot her and she was unable to feel her legs. When deputies arrived at the home, Igor Lannis exited through the front door with a Remington 870 shotgun and opened fire on the officers at the scene, according to police. Police said officers fired back, shooting and killing Igor Lannis. The 25-year-old rushed to the hospital was rushed to the hospital and is still listed in stable condition. At the very least, it seems the sister is okay. Why shoot the dog, though? The dog might have been protecting the mom. Dogs dogs will attack people if they see one person kill another person. It happens. You ever seen a dog like start barking when you and like your friends start wrestling in the living room or something? Like the dog doesn't understand and starts barking and getting like freaked out by it. Like, oh, what's happening? People are fighting? Bark, 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 bark. Yeah, dogs do that. They just don't get it, you know? And that could have been what happened. First, I want to get out of the way the fact that I have very dry lips, okay? I'm licking my dry-ass lips right now because they are quite dry. However, I want to go at this from a little bit of a different angle. That's more or less like the most important part of the story. It goes into a little more detail a little later on, explaining that he would go on to say all the time that the most important things in the world to him are his family, and that he would do anything to protect his family, and that nothing, quote unquote, could get him to waver on his QAnon beliefs. Now, overwhelmingly, the vast majority of conservatives that I run into online, I feel like they have fallen beneath the threshold of personhood. Their political beliefs have become so monstrous, and they've gained such a level of cognitive dissonance that they are completely irredeemable, and they will spend the rest of their lives on this earth fighting to make it so that minorities have it worse. And there's something that doesn't sit right about that. There certainly is something that doesn't sit right about that, and that certainly is who we're talking about right now. This QAnon guy was one of those people. Someone so far gone, with so much cognitive dissonance, who was driven to the point of murdering his own family members because I have no doubt it was religious based. This guy probably thought that the only way to save his family would be to murder them and to keep them in the kingdom of heaven. That would be the only way that Lord Trump would be able to keep them safe or whatever from the evil pedophile Democrats. When you've convinced people that like death is a better alternative to Democrats ruling the country, not just death for themselves, but death for their family, their friends, and their children. That protecting them means fucking killing them, and that they'll go to the magical place in the sky where they'll live for all eternity, safe from the Democrats and the gays. Yeah, that's gonna lead to some pretty crazy people doing some pretty fucked up shit. So how do we deal with people like this? The QAnon conspiracy theorists. Well, QAnon needs to have a serious crackdown. I believe the post, the original Reddit post, can I find it? Here it is. My QAnon dad snapped and killed my family this morning. That's the original Reddit post. This is the last paragraph of the post, and frankly, I could not agree more with the ending bit. Fuck you, QAnon. I hope the FBI tightens its grip on you, and that your lackeys rot in prison and hell for poisoning so many people. Based and fucking true. But that's not really where I want to end the conversation. You see, in my mind, there's always been two types of people who get radicalized to shitty beliefs. There are those that were, I really just think, morally unlucky in that they were born into and raised into that ideology and they literally knew nothing else. They've never been allowed to be exposed to any other ideas than what they're being walled off from and being told is only acceptable. Generally, when you've got like parents and when you've got like kids that are just like growing up their entire lives being told a certain way to think, you can't really blame the kid for what their parents instilled into them, ideologically speaking. But once they become adults, or at least when they become like older kids, they start to gain a little bit more autonomy in what they believe and stuff, and I start to put a little bit more onus on what they believe. What I do is try to get the truth in front of as many people who might have been radicalized by conservative propaganda or by, God forbid, Nazi propaganda like the QAnon shit, as much of those people as possible. I try to get my content in the eyes of, so that they can hear the facts, that they can hear at least an alternative like ideology. that it doesn't end there. They don't have to keep going down the fucking drain. There's a way out. There's a bright end of the tunnel if they turn around now. And I really hope that's the impression they get from my videos, because those are the people that can be saved. This guy could never have been saved. I really hate to break it to you, but nothing that could have ever been done would have saved this guy. That's my take. I don't think anything could have been done. Well, obviously, maybe way earlier on there could have been something, but once this person became a QAnon conspiracy theorist, I really don't think there was any stopping the train from hitting this horrible brick wall. I don't think there was anything stopping it. I don't think it could have been done. The QAnon propaganda is made to stoke hatred and fear and potentially even violence. The QAnon propaganda is literally perfectly designed to keep people just on the edge of committing violence. They're dedicated enough to the agenda, to the propaganda, to the channels and the places that are spreading the ideology. They're dedicated enough to it to constantly be on top of it and consuming media about it, but not into it enough to constantly be committing terrorist attacks. Anyway, that's really the end of my rant. I don't think that this person could have been saved. I think that there are two different types of people. There are those that are so cognitively dissonant that they will never change their opinions left or right. They have basically staked their entire self-worth and their entire reason for living on their political ideology, and no amount of facts or evidence that go contrary to their worldview will ever get them to reconsider and change their mind. And when it's stuff like this, then yeah, sometimes it leads to the guy shooting and killing his wife, his dog, and injuring his daughter after going on rants about QAnon. Yeah, sometimes that is how it ends up. I'd like to come on stream sometime to talk about my radicalization experience with it and having a family member be radicalized. I'm also scared of being platformed online, though. Yeah, being platformed online is a little bit of a worry these days, but I don't think it would be too much of a worry. I might have you on stream sometime. I do want to hear what you guys think. This video is one in which I want to start a conversation. I want to hear if you guys think this guy could have been saved. I want to know if you guys think this guy was in any way savable, and at what point was he savable? Because I know this sounds like a weird question, but my job, I'm an edutainer. Like, first word, education, last word, entertainer. Put together, right? I educate, I educate people and I entertain people at the same time, right? So my job is to change people's minds at the end of the day. So yeah, I do think that making this kind of content and asking these kinds of questions and raising this type of conversation is kind of vital to a channel like this. That's all about changing people's minds. So I'm curious. Do you guys think that this person's mind could have been changed? Comment down below. I'm curious if you watched all the way to the end. Of course, if you enjoyed this segment, please consider leaving a like. You can also subscribe and ring the bell icon to turn on all notifications so YouTube tells you when I go live or upload a new video. And of course, if you want to see more from me online, you can follow my social media, linked down below. And finally, of course, you can support me directly financially by subscribing, gifting a sub, or donating on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or supporting me on YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, or Patreon. Links, of course, all in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.